Hello everyone, I'm here to present our paper on robotic crop disease monitoring using neural network-based prediction and weighted path planning. The authors are Jacob Sutton, myself Ian Data, Pratik Kreidel, Lotzi Bologna, Swap Roy. This research is supported by NSF Cyber Physical Systems grants. Agriculture plays a vital role in sustaining global food security and economic stability. However, agricultural productivity is constantly threatened by various factors, with crop diseases posing a significant challenge. Crop diseases such as tomato yellow leaf curl virus not only result in yield losses but also incur substantial economic and environmental costs due to indiscriminate use of pesticide and fungicide. Traditional control methods are most of the times inefficient and harmful to the environment. Now, our objective in this paper is to use an autonomous robotics-based solution that uses real-time disease monitoring and targeted intervention if necessary. Problem overview. So here we are discussing some of the inefficient pesticide uses. So traditional methods involve uniform pesticide spraying across the entire fields, which can be inefficient because some of the crops which are not diseased, they can also get that pesticide, and that is not good for them. And also spraying that much pesticide is not environmentally good. Therefore, we propose to use only targeted spraying, and that can only be done by proper disease monitoring and control, because that is paramount in modern agriculture for optimal yield of the crop. Now, also another problem with spraying the pesticide everywhere is pesticide resistance can be built in the crops. Now, the proposed solution in this paper is to use mobile robots equipped with AI sensors that will be analyzing the data that is being collected and will make changes to the planned path based on that kind of analysis. Now, mostly we use prediction for disease spread monitoring using neural networks, and that also helps the robot to optimize their paths in the next round. Now, this is a system architecture in a nutshell. So the robots monitor the field for several days, and that helps the robot to build this disease map. The neural networks help the robot to predict the disease spread over time, and this prediction is combined with the observed data that is found by the robot through their movement. So they actually go in the field and look at the crop and find out which crops have the disease. So the predicted model and the observed model is combined for better movement and better disease intervention in the future. Uh, Now, we in this paper we use the CNN LSTM based prediction model that was originally proposed by Chen et al. In their seminal convolutional LSTM network work that came out in NeurIPS a few years back. Now, CNN obviously stands for convolutional neural network, and LSTM, which stands for long short-term memory network, are combined together, where CNN captures the spatial relations in the disease spread, and LSTM captures the temporal changes of the disease spread. Although their paper used this network for precipitation nowcasting from cloud spread. However, we adopt this for predicting disease spread over a 2D area based on the historical disease spread information. In this paper, we propose a novel path planning technique that uses a weighted random path planning strategy. The robot visits predicted high-risk areas, considering their battery constraints as well, and we'll talk about that in the next slide more. Our objective is to minimize the error between the predicted and actual disease spread. So in the equation, Wi star represents the optimal path that is found by the robot, where we are trying to minimize the predicted and disease maps difference or error across all the possible paths that the robot could find. Now, here is the algorithm that we have proposed in this paper. Our output that we want is a disease map after k plus n days, where k represents the first few days where the farmer is looking at the crop or seeing how the crop is growing, and we assume on the kth day, the first time the disease has been noticed, and then we go into this disease spread monitoring mode for the next n days for monitoring where the disease is spreading and so on and so forth. Now we divide the area into a grid cells, set of grid cells, and B represents the robot's budget that is dependent on the velocity of the robot and the time it is given for exploration every day, because the robot is running on a battery, so it cannot visit every location of a huge agricultural field. So it can only choose a certain locations to get collections from, so that a better disease model can be built. Now it starts by predicting the disease cell for the I plus 1th day, and then we also calculate the path for the robot to traverse on that day, and the robot, so that it can go and collect observations on I plus 1th day following that path. Now, whether to visit a cell or not, so that is an important question. So one cell might be unvisited by the robot in the past, and that means we do not know whether whether that cell actually is diseased or not. Similarly, if the one of the cells was previously visited and it was non-diseased, but it can be diseased now, so we also give it some chance to visit those cells. Finally, some of the predicted disease cells are also visited by the robot, and the reason for that is prediction is not 100% accurate. So from time to time, we want the robot to give a chance to go to the predicted disease cells and see whether the predictions hold water or not. Finally, once these observations come in, we merge those with the prediction. So that means if we see one cell to be diseased, and even if that was not predicted to be diseased, we obviously trust our observations and not the predictions. Now remember that once one cell becomes diseased, it cannot become undiseased because there is no spraying of pesticide going on in our paper, but obviously that can be added on top of what we are proposing here. In here, we are only interested in monitoring or predicting the disease spread or coming up with a better map for the disease spread over time. Now, this keeps happening until the next end days. So for the experiments, we have used Waterbury Farms benchmark for that is used for agricultural simulations. That benchmark has previously been proposed by us, and it is on archive right now. And this can be used not only for disease monitoring and disease spread modeling, but also for informative path planning, like we are doing in this paper. Now, as I mentioned previously, the field is divided into grids, and the disease spread uses this model called Siri. The objective of these experiments is to test the system's accuracy in predicting disease spread as well as path planning time. Now, some of the parameters used in our paper are listed on the right-hand side. Environment size is 64 by 64 grid. The budget is varied across like 4 different numbers, so 10% through 60% of the whole environment. Now, training data size is 1,000. That means 1,000 samples have been used, and they have been previously generated to see how this disease spreads, the tomato disease that we talked about previously spreads in the field, and that has been used to train the supervised learning models, a CNN LSTM model that we have previously talked about. Now, remember, for every different kind of crop that you have and every different kind of disease that you might have on that crop, so that crop and disease combination, you might have to retrain the model with the training data. That is a drawback of our system. Now we test this on 100 different cases, and the resultant average results and the standard deviation results are presented next. Note that the first complete observation days, where the human goes into looking for the crop health and everything for the first 10 days, and on the 10th day, that is when we assume the first time a disease has been noticed. Now, here are some results that we present. The budget is, again, as we said, vary between 10% and 60%, and we have compared with two baselines, namely no path and pure random. Now, no path stands for the case where there is no robot path involved. So that means there is no robot involved at all. So we only use the CNN LSTM model for predicting the disease spread over time, and that predicted version is being fed to the model to predict for the next day, and the same thing keeps happening. So now that means that we do not know whether the predictions are accurate or not. It is only relying on the predicted model and does not rely on any kind of real observation of the field disease spreading. So that might be an issue. So that is one of the baselines that we have chosen. The other baseline is there, that is called pure random. That is to understand how good our intelligent path planning technique is. Because if it is just pure random, so the robot is randomly moving in the environment, whether that can work or not. So we see that although when the budget is small, that those two baselines work similarly compared to ours. However, as the budget increases, so that means we give the robot a chance to explore the environment, our path planning technique or our proposed technique uses the budget much better. That can be more evident in budget equal to 40% and 60%. And because we provide higher prediction accuracy compared to those baseline by showing that we provide lower mean square error values. Now, mean square error values also decreases with increased path budget because the robot has more locations to explore, and then it can build a better map. For example, with budget equal to 60% of the environment, our proposed technique achieves an MAC of 0.07, while the random and no path baselines achieve MACs of 0.12 and 0.20 respectively. Now, here are some sample paths. On the right hand side, you see the path find by us and the path find by the baseline, the pure random baseline. As you can see, our proposed approach explores the environment much better, and it spreads out across the environment, whereas the random does not do a good job in doing that. So therefore, if the disease is spreading only from neighboring crops, that is okay. But in our model, as I have mentioned before, that the disease might be popping up in random locations in the environment. So to capture that phenomena, our approach is better suited for that. Now, here are some predictions using ours and baseline techniques. So the top row is for the ground truth disease spread over time, and the bottom row is for our disease spread over time. The middle two rows are the baselines, and it can be seen that our approach does better on like in general. Now, in conclusion, we can say that we have proposed an AI prediction model that combines with path planning technique for improved disease monitoring in an agricultural field. Now, in the future, we plan to use multi-robot systems because one robot might not be enough in a large geographical area. So we want to combine the observations of multiple robots so they can collaborate among themselves to find an even better disease map. We also want to use reinforcement learning approach where the robots will learn over time which areas to go to for better disease map accuracy and which areas it can avoid. So that's all for today. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them now. And thank you all for attending the talk today. Thank you very much.